Hey, Flo here. Thanks for the lemon, Leo. Out on a hike. I'm gonna do some Bible reading today. Yeah. Let me get my gear set up, and I'll be on my way. I'm gonna try to do as many readings as I can today because have a limited amount of time to do it, and my friend's gonna be coming over this weekend, so I want to make sure to do a few extra because I probably won't do any this weekend. So that's the main reason I wanted to get out. It's actually not a good day for it, really, because it's super smoky, but that's alright. We'll stay out as long as I can, health-wise. Oh man, it takes so long to get this set up. I would have got an earlier start, but I was trying AI stuff again. I wanted to see if I could fix that little bug with the reference colon dash thingy, and AI can't figure out Bible reference stuff. Like, it's hopeless. It is totally lost. I mean, it takes me like 90% of the way, 95% of the way there, but like this just has this one thing it just cannot figure out. And to be fair, I think parsing Bible references is actually a pretty advanced thing, but for some reason, like no matter what tips I gave it and stuff, I couldn't get it to fix the last little bug, so I gave up on it and I did a hack. I think I might have sort of got it working. I think it's at least working to the point where there's no passages that it can't do. Might not be perfect, but originally I couldn't get it to even show certain kinds of passages. I'm like, well, how do I even do my Bible readings if it won't show the right passages? But I think I got at least that fixed, but I don't know, I didn't do extremely thorough testing, so it might still have a few edge cases that it can't work with, but we'll see. Hopefully it'll work today. So yeah, I got a lucky, fortunate few days where there was like no wildfire smoke to speak of. And so I thought, well, I don't know, maybe it'll be good from now on. And then today is horrible, massively bad. But I decided I'm gonna hike anyway. Okay, why is this not rotating? Now, where's that setting? Looking for the setting for auto rotate junk on my phone. Where is that? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So I'm not necessarily shooting for the most scenic locations today. I just want to go somewhere. So maybe I'll stop pretty soon, just wherever I can find a place. Even just right here, I mean. But I'll probably go a little bit further. I have a couple of places in mind that might be okay. I could just go out in the midst of these trees over here, though. It's kind of a unique angle that I don't know that I've streamed in a place exactly like that, but again, eventually I'll run out of like unique categories of scenery, like trees, views on mountain, grass. Eventually I'll run out of like large, high-level categories, but that doesn't mean I can't show more than one view or more than one tree or, etc. So basically the idea is I want to have a different spot for each reading, which is, let's see, how many is that? 25, 52 times 5, 260, I think. Yeah, so I need to find, that's a lot, but I need to find 260 different angles, not necessarily different locations, because I've already discovered I can be in the same vicinity, even the same exact spot, and just turn the camera 60 degrees and it's a different background. But of course, the more unique, the better. Try to get variety. But I don't know that I've done a lot, if any, like on a slopes. I could get one with an angle like that, just there's lots of different options. I've definitely streamed at this location, but as I was considering it, just reviewing my memory of like what the route is like when I walk up there, I imagined several possible angles at this spot that I haven't taken advantage of, so I'll try to do some of those. This is a spot where people drive by on their ATVs, like I'm on a forest road that I wouldn't say it's popular, but I do see people here. But I'm gonna go up to that thing. Like I said, I've streamed there before, but I haven't, for example, streamed down here looking up at it, and several other possibilities. So, hey Boomer, how you doing? Hey, let's talk about AI. That's all I ever talk about anymore. I'm getting sick of myself. Let's not talk about AI unless you have something that you wanted to talk about. But yeah, it seems like literally every stream I'm just talking about AI all the time. Just peachy. It's all I talk about too. Like, I don't want to. It's just the main reason. Like, I'm a vlogger. I'm a journaler. I talk about what I'm experiencing. I'm not like a hot topic seeker. Like, a lot of people are talking about it right now because it's the in thing to do, like it'll get you views, it'll do this for you, it'll do that. I couldn't possibly care less about that. But because I've been heavily what's the word, ingrained in it or using it myself, it's kind of a topic that I think about. Therefore I talk about. But yeah, I don't want to be like the guy that talks about AI all the time. I'm out here in nature and I'm talking about AI. It just seems really messed up. Anyway, I have some cool scripts in the works though. One of them I can't remember if I got it finished. I was actually up all night last night working on one, but I don't know if I got it finished or not. I can't remember if I tested it in the end. If I do, though, it's going to be really cool. Go with the flow AI show. Yeah, totally. Fly. Let's just call myself Fly. P-H-L-A-I. Just change my name. I'm Fly. That even sounds cool. But no, I don't think so. So yeah, this would be an awesome spot. The only reason I'm hesitant to do a Bible reading here is I think there's a good chance that people will drive by down on this road, but they'll probably just drive by, so it might disrupt the stream temporarily, but I can just read whatever verse I'm on or whatever. There's definitely a treasure chest or a mini boss on the top of that rock formation. Totally. Yeah. It's one of my favorite spots because it's just like a castle, you know. It's just a really cool rock formation. Oh man, it's just like out of nowhere, you know. But yeah, I've streamed from the top, but I've never streamed from down here, like just standing here. So I might set up right here actually. So yeah, I'm trying to do as many Bible readings as I can, maybe today and tomorrow, because I have a friend visiting, which is a very rare occasion, but he's going to be visiting for the weekend, and so I won't be able to do. I usually try to do like a bunch of reading on Sunday, so I'm going to miss that opportunity, and so I want to get some extra reading in before the opportunity. I mean, while I have the opportunity. What I find interesting about AI is that not using it is like a purity test among devs. Yeah, I know. Like, I'm not even in the dev scene anymore, but two of my best friends are, and so I think they kind of, I don't know if they don't, it's not that they don't like me. We've been friends for decades, so it's not like they're going to be like, oh, we're not your friend anymore, but like, I don't think they like that I talk about it so much. So I think it annoys them. I don't know all of what goes through dev's mind. I know some because I used to be a dev, but I'm so burnt out with deving, with coding, that I don't want to ever do it again. And I'm enjoying the fact that I can still work on projects, and actually my capacity is greatly increased. Like my peak level as a programmer is not as good as AI. Like, even though AI has its faults and everything, it makes mistakes, whatever, my coding abilities are beneath it. So anything, like, I'm at my peak right now. Like, right now is my by far highest productivity as a developer I've ever had. I've written, I can't even tell you how many scripts. Like, I think it's over 40 now, and some of them are complete websites. I have like 5 or 6 complete, like, web app things that I use on a regular basis that I've made. I mean, I have a ton of things. Oh, you use AI? Obviously, all your code is buggy and your skills aren't going to rust. Like, I know. Well, I mean, there is some validity to the scrutiny, and I'm not going to be like all poster child for AI and like try to get people to buy into it, because I'd rather it just go away, to be honest. Except, I mean, I'm using it, but I wish it never happened, because I don't know what it's going to do to the world. I've already talked about that, but since it's here and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere, I feel like it's a fun tool to use, and I'm being very productive with it. I'm creating a lot of really cool stuff, so it's like, why should I feel ashamed about it? I really don't feel ashamed about it. But at the same time, I just hope it doesn't replace everybody. I hope, the evil people that run it don't go hog wild with their evilness and, all that stuff. Of course, I think about that stuff all the time. What most don't seem to understand is that it's a skill shift, going from being skilled at writing code to being skilled at understanding and reading someone else's code. Yeah, exactly. And there's still going to need to be some people that know how to write every aspect of code. And those people will probably be really well paid, I guess, because there's going to be a lot of vibe coders out there that's all they know. Like, they don't even know how to write code. They just ask AI to do it. So if something goes dreadfully wrong, there's got to be some expert out there that can fix it. And I think eventually, I don't know how soon, but I think eventually, I truly believe that AI will stop being so questionable and unreliable and somewhat buggy or criticized. I think eventually it will catch up to the point of being as good as a lot of programmers. And I think it's probably relatively in the near future too. And the reason I say that with a bit of confidence is that it's already better than I am. Now, granted, I was never that good. So I'm being honest, I was never that good. But I was good enough to keep employed at a decent pay for 15 years. And, I somehow hacked my way through, and I taught myself everything. I didn't go to college. And so to say it's better than me isn't necessarily saying much, because I'm not that good, but it is better than me. It genuinely is. Like, I can't write code as good as it does. So the people that are really good should just feel good about themselves when they hear me say that, because all it really means is they're better at writing code than I am. If they're better than AI, then they're way better than I am, because AI is better than I am. Obviously, it depends on which model we're talking about, because I'm probably better than Microsoft Copilot. It's not saying much, but Microsoft Copilot is literally the bottom tier of AI. It's the worst out there. Oops. Although I think they did just implement ChatGPT 5 as an option, and they call it smart mode or something. I think the funny thing about Microsoft, they've done this many times throughout their history. They actually try pretty hard, because they want to have dominance in the field or whatever they're working on, but they kind of suck generally in most things. So usually, eventually, they just cave and they say, okay, we can't figure this out. We're not as good as the others. So we'll incorporate someone else's work into ours and pretend it's like our idea. So a good example of that would be Edge. Edge is Chrome. It's just a chromium skin. So they literally just took what Google did and made their browser, and then we got AI. They figured out how garbage their AI is. So they literally just plugged in ChatGPT 5, and they're probably paying a bunch of money. They did the same thing with Windows 10. They hired a bunch of Unix programmers. Nice. Yeah. And I don't fault them for that. I mean, that's what you should do. If you can't figure it out yourself and you're going to lose your entire company because you suck, that's the only way you're going to stay afloat, It's the same thing with all of the other streaming platforms. They all copied Twitch, because Twitch has been around for years and they've got it all figured out. So, copy what works. Everybody copies each other. It's like somebody came up with the file menu, file, edit, window, view, that whole concept. Everybody copied it, It's not like you have to reinvent the wheel just to be, unique. It's more about user experience and what people are familiar with. So anyway, I could blab on all day about that crap. But anyway, it's all basic stuff everybody knows. There's nothing revolutionary. No revealing conversations going on with me. Just repeating the basics. Okay, so let's see here. Need a spot I can sit. Right up there should work. Oh, shoot, I forgot. I didn't grab my chair. I don't know what I was thinking necessarily, but I guess what I was thinking is I would be able to sit on those rocks up there, but what I didn't think of is all these other spots on the way up that I'd rather be sitting in the chair. So I'm going to go grab that. Let's test the strength of this this wireless mic yet again. I'm going to walk crazy far away from this thing, and if it still works this whole time, then it's amazing. Because I walked quite a ways to get here from where I parked, so if it still works over there, I would be quite impressed. I don't think it will. I think it'll start cutting out here, but we'll find out. For some reason, it seems to have a massive range, but like it can even like okay, through giant rock I've got, just mount. I'm probably back in range. It's pretty far away, but it might be working now. It's coming back a bit nice. Yeah, I'm actually still quite a ways from my phone, but there's also a bunch of trees between me and my phone. Now it should be getting better though. Oh. No, I'm close. Oh, I'm in terrible shape. It actually, I think it takes me like an hour to recover from a huff puff session. I'm so out of shape. All right. Today it'll be especially lengthy to recover because of the smoke, probably. I wouldn't be surprised if this is on its last legs. No pun intended. I've used this a fair amount, and I'm pretty fat. I don't know what the capacity for this thing is, but if it just suddenly breaks on me, I wouldn't be disappointed. I've used it for years. Gotten a lot of good use out of it, especially since I've been doing this Bible thing. Been using it a lot. Okay, I'll be right back. And then finally I'll get started. Alright, everything is ready. That's not actually what I'm reading today. I was testing earlier. I forgot there's a couple improvements I want to make to this script here. Make it a little bit faster to switch out. Okay, I think that's what I'm going to be reading. Man, these gnats have been annoying lately. Last couple streams. Must be gnat season. Nat King Cole. Let's see. Alright. This isn't where I'm going to sit. I worked out for the first time in a long time this AM. It reminded me of how out of shape, how old I'm getting. It sucks, man. I feel like for me at least, it's kind of hit me all at once. But I think for me, it's partially just because I've neglected the areas that actually matter. I used to kind of just coast on the fact that I went hiking a lot, and it really did. It really kept me in pretty good shape for years. First of all, I don't hike as much as I used to. It might seem like I hike a lot, but I'm actually, like that time that it took me to get back to the car, like 5 minutes, that's how far I hike today. And I'm doing that a lot, where I find a place, the park that's kind of close to where I'm gonna live stream, so I'm not really exercising all that much. Whereas like in past years, I would go on like it used to be that 10-mile hike was like nothing to me. That was like just barely scratching the surface of getting a workout, like to where I felt it. And 20 miles I could do 20 miles reasonably well. And anything over 20 miles felt like, yeah, that's a pretty big hike. But yeah, and now it's like if I run, like jog for like 10 steps, I'm like, oh, and I'm just like, oh, it's bad. Anyway, it sucks. It's crazy how fast it can change. I don't like it. Okay, let's see. But yeah, for a while I was on this kick of doing like body weight exercises. So like in addition to whatever hiking or stuff I did like that, I was doing pull-ups and dips and other similar things, mostly upper body stuff. And that was awesome when I was actually doing it regularly, but I stopped doing it altogether pretty much. Anyway, I need to do something again because I think I'm in the worst shape I've ever been, to be honest. That's what it feels like anyway. I think I've been fatter than I am now. I'm pretty fat, let's be honest, but I've been fatter. But I don't think I've ever had such weak lung capacity. It's bad. All right. It's just going to get worse too, unless actually work out intentionally. So if I want to actually still be fit at all in my older age, I got to keep at it like way more than I used to. I used to just like don't do anything and I can have energy for stuff. Now I have to like work my way up gradually over time to get enough stamina and junk. That's annoying. Oh well. All right, so today we're going to be reading Numbers 31 to 32 and Luke 20. Anyway, I guess I've already talked about this, but in case you in particular didn't hear, I don't know if you're still here, but I've already talked about this like twice, so it's kind of going to get old for anybody that's heard it already. But I'm working on this script that will redub sound for a recording so that it matches the original recording, and it's probably the most ambitious AI coding project I've done yet. And if I can get it to just turn the corner, like it all works, like it does something, but it doesn't sync everything. So the idea is to take like every single word of something that is said and to sync that with every single word that is said in another recording. So every time you speak, you say things differently and with bigger or smaller pauses between the words and stuff. And so I want it to be able to sync two recordings to be identical, so all the peaks on the waveforms match up just automatically. One button push, and it does the whole thing. And I'm really close, but AI is struggling with a certain aspect of it. Sounds kind of hokey, but I do a lot of farmers carries with a pair of the heaviest cinder blocks. Lowe's will sell you at least every day across the... Dude, that's not hokey at all. I actually think that kind of exercise is more legit than, just standing in one place doing dumbbells or something. And actually, I know you already know this, but some people that are listening or watching that aren't part of the culture don't realize is that like farmer strength and like dad strength, they call it, or just things like that. Some of those guys have amazing abilities, like farmers especially, man. They might not look like bodybuilders, but they can do things that bodybuilders can't even do. Sounds like a fun programming project. Yeah, it's cool. If you're interested in what I'm using, it's this library called WhisperX. Basically, it can do a very accurate transcription using a LLM that it installs locally. So, there's not a huge use case for that because most like YouTube, for example, automatically adds subtitles to your stuff. But like if you want to upload to Rumble, Rumble doesn't do that. So this program can actually export into all the various formats of closed captioning and stuff. And it's extremely accurate, even if you're talking not very clear. Like my microphone cut out. So I almost couldn't even hear what I was saying in the recording. I knew out of context what I was saying, but it was like all digitally distorted and like crackling and like terrible. It got everything right. Like pretty much every word. It's amazingly accurate. So if you have any need to do like closed captioning over your anything, the cool thing is it outputs JSON or various formats with all the timing, like start word, end word time, and like all this stuff. So you can like do it. You can use it for lots of stuff. And I carry several 50-pound feed bags, but only once a week when getting feed for chickens, rabbits, dogs, and cats. Yeah. You could also consider creating your own text-to-voice with your own voice for doing voiceovers. Yeah, I kind of resist doing that. I did think about that idea, but I don't want anything that I produce in my content to be essentially AI generated. Like I don't mind using AI as a tool to cut down the time in the editing, but I want this to be all natural, it's really me. And I don't even want to do the overdubbing thing, except that some of my recordings, for whatever reason, my mic cuts out. I don't know why. I'm like, even right here, I'm straight line of sight. There's no reason for it to cut out, and it's cut out in those kind of situations. One of the times I know it was I'm pretty sure it was because of signal interference, because I was really close to a cell tower, and it was probably overwhelming the signal. But at other times I don't know why it does that. Anyway, so because of that, I don't want to throw out the whole recording and go out somewhere hiking and do the whole thing over. I'd rather, dub over it in that very select case. But generally, I want it to be as authentic and real it actually happened as possible. Otherwise, people could legitimately accuse me of like, this is all fake, it's all AI generated, and I don't want to go there. So anyway. But hello, Vampire Frog. I know you're just testing stuff, so Vampire Frog over on D Live saying a bunch of his potty joke things. Anyway, okay, so I'm gonna do the reading. I just noticed a shift in wind and different clouds, so I'm thinking I better get at least one reading in before it starts raining, because I think it's possible that could happen today. It's been raining off and on for the last 3 days, so it might rain today too. I had 2 French guys sign up for Live Joiner. One of them paid. Awesome. That's cool. How did they find out about your service? Are you doing any like marketing, like paid marketing or SEO junk, all that stuff? But a previous French guy canceled his subscription without announcing me, and I was working on a feature for him. Oh man, that stinks. They found out from D-Live Discord. Oh, okay. That's cool. Very cool. Yeah, there's a certain point when I would more highly consider, like if I have income, I would consider it, but I don't. Right now I have 0 income, so I can't do subscription things. But once I get a job, all that stuff changes, then it's something I would consider. No marketing yet. Still making the app work well enough to be worth promoting. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool idea, cool product. And eventually, I mean, I know this sounds crazy for me, like it's not crazy for anybody else, but eventually I might drop some of the dead platforms, because they're just nobody's watching on like Trovo, and I could list probably five or 10 platforms that I stream to that pretty much nobody watches. I'm not going to do that right now because I still enjoy streaming everywhere. And then some of them they're just going to not exist in a year. So, D-Live. Yep. Oh, did you see, Boomer, did you see they added some new donation sticker things, kind of like TikTok and I think Twitch have, maybe YouTube too, I don't know. I don't think YouTube has it, but you know how you have like quite a assortment of different denominations of donation amounts, and each is a different like graphical sticker. D-Live added that. There's like 24 new denominations, so instead of like lemon, ice cream, you know, Ninjagini, diamond, all that stuff, there's like 24 different ones. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I thought it was I mean, I know they're just copying what other people do, but at this point, pretty much everything's already been thought of, all the ideas, so you got to copy somebody at some point. TikTok and Trovo, yeah. Yeah, Trovo, I don't know what is wrong with Trovo. I think somebody explained it to me that's more into the culture. It's really gamified, so I guess if you don't set up your channel to reward people in the ways that Trovo people are expecting, they're just not going to stop by because I feel like there's no real community there. It's just, you know, kind of like the D-Live lemon people from Turkey. They're only there for the lemons. They don't care about anything else. I feel like it's kind of like that because I literally never get anybody dropping by there. And it's because I haven't bought into their whole ecosystem. I don't care about that stuff. So anyway, you probably have to hang out on each platform to increase your viewership manually. Yeah, but I mean, at least most other platforms, I'll get people dropping by here and there, you know. I don't have any regular viewers, but thing is, you probably know this already, but some people have just, you know, the whole insanity thing. Keep trying the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. You can't invest in community in order to gain community if your content sucks. It just won't work. If you're not producing something that people already want to see and they haven't already found you, community isn't going to do it for you. It doesn't work. I've seen everybody try that, and as soon as you drop the community at all, your viewers are gone. So as soon as you stop hosting other people and donating to other people, the moment that stops, everybody's gone because they're all in it for, you know, the reciprocation. They're not in it because they like your content. They're in it because you do something for them. So yeah, it doesn't work. It absolutely doesn't work. Do some more entertaining streams. I don't want to though. Like, I don't really care about gaining a following. So if I did, you know, I would try harder or do this, that. I'm not going to do it though. I just do what I do. And it's how I've avoided burnout all this time. Because a lot of people try really hard. They put all their effort into everything and they find out it's a dead end. I could give you two personal examples that I know, but pretty much anybody you could talk to, it's their story as well. But Magic Carl, Super Skip, some of my best friends from the back in the day, they tried everything. They gained a moderate level of success, but not enough to live off of. I mean, you can't get enough donations to quit your day job. So Carl had to go back to work, and Skip probably had to go back to work too, or just find something else to do. Haven't thought about those two for a while. Yeah, I talked to Carl briefly because he did a few streams on YouTube. Actually, more he did like videos rather than live streams. Really well, very well, masterfully produced videos. You know, video game reviews. Some of the best I've ever seen. His voice is amazing. He writes amazing scripts. His edits are clean, not flashy. Super good stuff, but he doesn't get enough views, Like he doesn't get what the notice that he's due. And that's how it is for the majority of content creators. They put a lot of heart and soul into it and they never get noticed. They never blow up, It's just the way it is. And I've learned that. I've learned that, yeah, I could try really hard, but then I'd be like taking time from things that actually matter in life to fail, because it will fail. Like it's almost guaranteed it's going to fail. I've been encouraged to do more edited YouTube content and take a break from streaming until I build up a viewership on YouTube videos. Yeah. But the reality is you may never make it. I mean, I'm your friend, and the reason I say that is because I don't butter people up. I don't flatter people. I'm not saying you don't deserve to make it. I'm just saying the reality is the statistics say there's a good chance you'll never be a full-time YouTuber if that's what you're shooting for. Now, I think if you put your mind to it, you could probably achieve it, but honestly, I don't think there's no guarantee at all. I think there's a higher probability that none of us will ever be successful. That's just the reality. I mean, we've all tried hard and seen where it goes, But that doesn't mean it's not worthwhile. Like for me, it's not about the success. It's not about quitting my day job or any of that stuff. I just enjoy it as a hobby. And I think I have a purpose in it. I'm doing something that most people don't dare to do, and that's talk about Jesus Christ, salvation, Bible, stuff that actually matters, not just, playing a video game and that's it, or literally being a degenerate and leading children down a dark path that they'll have a hard time breaking free from until they're like later adults in life. Like that's what most streamers do. They're degenerates that like are a terrible influence on young people and lead them down a path of irresponsibility. I don't want to have anything to do with that. So yeah, I'll never succeed because I'm not fitting that mold, That's what you have to do to succeed. So plus I'm too old. It's an age game. Once you reach a certain age, the threshold of content, perfection and talent and personality that you have to have, the bar is extremely raised because people don't want to watch an old guy unless you have something extremely unique to offer that nobody else is doing. Otherwise, they'll look for a young person that's doing something really boring and stupid. They'd rather watch that because that's their peer, That's somebody they can relate to. I can't relate to this old guy, So, yeah, anyway, we all know this stuff. For sure, I'm under no delusion, but I want to take my hand at YouTube content in earnest just for the joy of creating videos. Yeah, and I would like to see one of us succeed. Like you, Elfsar, Gives a Minute. I'm kind of at a loss for examples right now because I'm kind of cut off from the culture these days. I don't really have a lot of friends. Those are the only the ones I can think of at the moment. But there's others that deserve to succeed. I don't put myself in that list because I'm not even trying or expecting to succeed. But I would like to see one of my friends make it. And I'm not going to go leech off him and say, "Oh, you made it. Carry me too. Host me all the time." That's trash. I would never do that. I just want to see it happen. Like to say, like, yeah, one of my best friends for 6 years. We started at DLive. None of us made it anywhere, and then all of a sudden this guy exploded. That would be awesome. Anyway, I'm gonna get into the reading, but I do appreciate the conversation for old time's sake and new time's sake. Oh, I just remembered I need to do this. Mark the spot here. I always forget to do this. Okay. I'm glad you actually enjoy YouTube videos. I don't really. That's why I'm trying to write as much scripts that can automate. Like as an example, if I could write this script, I probably would. So I do these readings, but I make mistakes. I can't really automate the removal of the mistakes unless I use some pretty advanced AI stuff. But what I'd like to do is like make all of the pauses between sentences and commas. Commas are about, I would say, about half the length of what after a period, a full stop sentence should be. What I could do is say, search for silence, look for period before it. If it's a period in a full sentence, make it, within this range of pause. If it's a comma, do this. Things like that, I would automate because that's what I'm doing in my edits. It's super tedious. But sometimes I'll pause like way too long after a sentence, or the switch between slides takes a little bit too long, and so there's this awkward pause. So when I'm editing these, I'm like doing all of this like very tedious stuff, and then when I chop out that extra silence or whatever, I do like a slight crossfade between the two chunks that come together. So it's very mechanical. It's not creative. It's just like tedious. And so if I could write a script to just like go through my videos and just do that, I probably would. But anyway, I may try to do that someday, but for now I'm just doing that part manually. But the rest, pretty much everything else, all my thumbnails and like the text for the title and description and keywords and all that stuff, it's automated because I have a script that does that. And anyway, okay, let's do the reading before that thunderstorm hits. Numbers chapter 31. And the Lord said to Moses, take vengeance on the Midianites for the Israelites. After that you will be gathered to your people. So Moses told the people, arm some of your men for war, that they may go against the Midianites and execute the Lord's vengeance on them. Send into battle 1,000 men from each tribe of Israel. So 1,000 men were recruited from each tribe of Israel, 12,000 armed for war. And Moses sent the 1,000 from each tribe into battle, along with Phinehas, son of Eleazar the priest, who took with him the vessels of the sanctuary and the trumpets for signaling. Then they waged war against Midian, as the Lord had commanded Moses, and they killed every male. Among the slain were Evi, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, the 5 kings of Midian. They also killed Balaam son of Beor with the sword. The Israelites captured the Midianite women and their children, and they plundered all their herds, flocks, and goods. Then they burned all the cities where the Midianites had lived, as well as all their encampments, and carried away all the plunder and spoils, both people and animals. They brought the captives, spoils, and plunder to Moses, to Eleazar the priest, and to the congregation of Israel at the camp on the plains of Moab, by the Jordan across from Jericho. And Moses, Eleazar the priest, and all the leaders of the congregation went to meet them outside the camp. But Moses was angry with the officers of the army, the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, who were returning from the battle. Have you spared all the women? He asked them. Look, these women caused the sons of Israel, through the counsel of Balaam, to turn unfaithfully against the Lord at Peor, so that the plague struck the congregation of the Lord. So now kill all the boys as well as every woman who has had relations with a man, but spare for yourselves every girl who has never had relations with a man. All of you who have killed a person or touched the dead are to remain outside the camp for 7 days. On the 3rd day and the 7th day you are to purify both yourselves and your captives, and purify every garment and leather good, everything made of goat's hair, and every article of wood. Then Eleazar the priest said to the soldiers who had gone into battle, This is the statute of the law which the Lord has commanded Moses. Only the gold, silver, bronze, iron, tin, and lead, everything that can withstand the fire, must be put through the fire, and it will be clean. But it must still be purified with the water of purification, and everything that cannot withstand the fire must pass through the water. On the seventh day you are to wash your clothes, and you will be clean. After that you may enter the camp. The Lord said to Moses, You and Eleazar the priest, and the That threw me. I was looking at that and it threw me off. I got distracted. The Lord said to Moses. Usually it said, and the Lord said to Moses, just like felt really abrupt. It's like, did I miss a verse? The Lord said to Moses, You and Eleazar the priest and the family heads of... I'm having a hard time reading this verse. This is the stuff I have to edit out manually. The Lord said to Moses, You and Eleazar the priest and the family heads of the congregation are to take account of what was captured, both of man and beast. Then divide the captives between the troops who went out to battle and the rest of the congregation. Set aside a tribute for the Lord from what belongs to the soldiers who went into battle, 1 out of every 500, whether persons, cattle, donkeys, or sheep. Take it from their half and give it to Eleazar the priest as an offering to the Lord. From the Israelites' half, take 1 out of every 50, whether persons, cattle, donkeys, sheep, or other animals, and give them to the Levites, who keep charge of the tabernacle of the Lord. So Moses and Eleazar the priest did as the Lord commanded Moses, and this plunder remained from the spoils the soldiers had taken, 675,000 sheep, 72,000 cattle, 61,000 donkeys, and 32,000 women who had not slept with a man. This was the half portion for those who had gone to war, 337,500 sheep, including a tribute to the Lord of 675, 36,000 cattle, including a tribute to the Lord of 72, 30,500 donkeys, including a tribute to the Lord of 61, and 16,000 people, including a tribute to the Lord of 32. Moses gave the tribute to Eleazar the priest as an offering for the Lord, as the Lord had commanded Moses. From the Israelites' half, which Moses had set apart from the men who had gone to war, this half belonged to the congregation, 337,500 sheep, 36,000 cattle, 30,500 donkeys, and 16,000 people. From the Israelites' half, Moses took 1 out of every 50 persons and animals and gave them to the Levites, who kept charge of the tabernacle of the Lord, as the Lord had commanded him. Then the officers, who were over the units of the army, the commanders of thousands and of hundreds, approached Moses and said, Your servants have counted the soldiers under our command, and not one of us is missing. So we have brought to the Lord an offering of the gold articles each man acquired, armlets, bracelets, rings, earrings, and necklaces, to make atonement for ourselves before the Lord. So Moses and Eleazar the priest received from them all the articles made out of gold. All the gold that the commanders of thousands and of hundreds presented as an offering to the Lord weighed 16,750 shekels. Each of the soldiers had taken plunder for himself. And Moses and Eleazar the priest received the gold from the commanders of thousands and of hundreds, and brought it into the tent of meeting as a memorial for the Israelites before the Lord. Oh man, okay, so I just realized as I was starting that I didn't do the local recording, so that one other thing I can do to probably make the whole script of the redubbing obsolete is I have the ability to record locally with this, so it just records straight into here onto, I think it has like 4 gigs of memory in there, something like that, so it's a decent several hours of recording. And then I can just, since it's not having to transmit, it's not going to like cut out and get all choppy. Plus, I think it's a pretty high bit rate of recording here. So if something does happen to the live stream or the signal transmission, I can, sync it up with this recording. So anyway, I forgot to do that. Ever since I had that issue happen recently, I'm like trying to get into the habit of doing that so that I have a far less likely problem later. And that way it can be a genuine live recording, because I really don't want to do the redubbing thing. It feels a little bit fake, The only reason I'm writing that script to try to automate it is just for the absolute crazy scenarios where something goes wrong and I have no other way to fix it. I don't want it to become a regular thing. Like, I'm not going to go home every time I do this and re-record it in a studio environment just so it can sound, great or something. That's not the goal. It's just for the really random ones that don't work out for whatever stupid reason. And I don't even want to do it on those times. I'd rather just, like, so far I've never really done that. The thing I have done though is, like, usually what happens is like one or two words just go all robot, janky, terrible quality, and then it pops back in. So what I've done a couple times is just say those words in my video editor, just cover those couple words that broke away or something. But I don't even want to do that, to be honest. I hopefully I can remember to record it on this and then have a backup in case that happens again. But I still am pretty pumped about that script just because it's a cool script. Like, I don't know if something like that exists already. I think there probably is some really expensive paid software that does that, but to be able to make something that relatively advanced and just like use Python and open source projects to do it is really satisfying, because I'm not a talented programmer. So with AI, I can really boost my abilities. I would have never dreamed of writing a script like that back when I was just messing around with stuff on my own. Of course, now that the other thing about AI is, like, you have this big idea and you ask AI to do it and you think, oh, I would never be able to do that. But then you look at the code afterward and you're like, oh, that's not that hard. Or, so it's actually a really good way to learn new ways to do things. Because I think it would have felt beyond me to do it. But I think if I looked at the Python code that it's producing, if I wasn't so burnt out and my brain wasn't fried, I probably could read it and understand it and maybe even fix some of the bugs. But yeah, because of whatever brain rot I've experienced in the last 10 years, I don't feel up to the task. Anyway, okay, so let's keep going. I know some of this stuff is hard for people. A lot of people actually turn away from Christianity or the Bible in general because of chapters like these. And I recognize that. I'm not going to pretend like it's easy stuff. There is an explanation that most people won't accept, but here's the thing. We all die. None of us are going to live more than like 100. Most of us will make it to 80 or 90 at the most, and some of us might die tomorrow in a car wreck or a heart attack. And our eternal fate, like these few years that we have, 70 to 100 years or less, this is just the beginning. What really matters is eternal life, and the only way to have eternal life is to know God through Jesus Christ. Salvation through Jesus Christ. You cannot earn your way to heaven. A lot of people think, this is very common, even Donald Trump has said it numerous times, oh yeah, I think I'll get to heaven because I've done this and this. And like, you think you've earned your way, God has created his way. Like he has a way, and there is no other, and his way is Jesus Christ. You have to believe in Jesus Christ and his work on the cross, and you have to accept that there's nothing that you personally can do to earn your path to heaven. So doing a bunch of good works to try to please God and say that you've bought a ticket by your righteousness to heaven, that doesn't work. So what all that to say, it's actually more important what happens to our souls than, our physical lives. This physical life that we have is the chance that we get to accept Jesus Christ. And so, like, all that sounds like unrelated to this Numbers chapter that we read, but here's the thing. Those people's eternal state was in peril because the Midianites were extremely evil, and they were worshiping idols and doing all sorts of sexual perversion and leading not only themselves astray in their entire culture, but they were leading Israel astray as well. And so, once again, if you don't know God and you don't accept his sacrifice for you, you don't have eternal life. Like, the end is, like, your life, once it ends, that's it for you. Because the only way to be saved is through Jesus Christ and trusting in him and the sacrifice that he made for you. And the sacrificial system of the Old Testament represents that. Jesus hadn't come yet, but all of that was a symbol of his coming later. So basically, trusting, faith in God. Without faith, it is impossible to please God, etc., etc., etc. So basically, these people were having their eternal lives being put at stake because of these people, and God was actually using Israel to enact his plan of salvation and clear out the evil. It's kind of like the flood. It doesn't make sense to us because we can't see God's perspective, but if the entire world is full of evil and no one is pursuing God, they're all dead already. And so the only person alive at that time who was pleasing God by faith in him and trusting in him was Noah. And so, I mean, this is impossible for us to understand, but it's a big deal. But anyway, yeah, none of this satisfies anybody because they still think it's just so bad. All those people died, whatever. So nothing that I say or anyone else is going to say is going to satisfy that. But it is true that these people were completely beyond saving. Like they had just, it's not that God can't save anybody, but they had just completely turned away from God and followed their own way, worshiping idols and doing a bunch of perversion and literally even burning their own children in a fire as sacrifice to a false god, demon worship, all this crazy stuff. So anyway, let's see. Boomer says catching those bugs is the important part. Asking it how a certain function it wrote works. If you don't oh yeah, that's amazing. Like you can literally, I mean, I've never tried it, but I'm pretty sure you could literally just have it read a completely cryptic, like minimized JavaScript or any kind of stuff that's been completely minimized beyond human recognition because all the variable names have been stripped. And I'm pretty sure it would still understand it all, and it'd probably reassign variables that make sense because it would understand like what's happening. Like it's amazing. Yeah. Having it describe someone else's code for you instead of trying to like look at thousands of lines of code and reverse engineer it. Yeah, that's amazing that it does that so well. And even like when I've had it do that with my code, because sometimes I've actually written code, but I can't remember what I was doing because it was like too long ago and my head's not in the game anymore. So I just have it like, hey, what's going on here? What does this code do? I can't remember what I was doing, and it just like refreshes it all. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, okay, so let's keep going. honestly, it's probably better for me not to say anything when I'm reading because, like I said many times, I'm not a preacher, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a Bible answer guy. But what I do admit, though, is I struggle with stuff in the Bible just like other people. Like that chapter that we just read isn't my favorite chapter. Like it's like, oh man, so many people died, so much plunder. It sounds like, it's not my favorite. But I trust God. I really do. I'm actually thankful that it's not like that anymore. Christians don't go around, conquering other nations and, plundering and killing all the people. Like, if they are, they're actually not following Christ because things have changed in the New Testament and what we're supposed to do. So, oh man, imagine living in that time though. How much faith would it take to follow God's command when it's like, I'm not a violent person. Do I really have to go to war? It's like, oh man, that would be hard. I think that would be a really hard time to follow, We have it easy compared to that, I guess. That's for sure. All right, let's keep going. But yeah, I don't skip any hard passages. Like, I'm gonna read it all. I'm not ashamed of anything. Some of it's difficult, and a lot of it I don't really understand super well because I'm just not that smart. Like I didn't go to college. I'm just not that intelligent, to be honest. I'm just a regular random guy. So I read this just like anybody else, and some of it is just like over my head, or some of it I misunderstand and probably come to the wrong conclusion. The only advantage that I have over some people is that I've gone to church for a long time, and so I've heard pastors explain some of this stuff that is generally hard for anyone to understand, and they'll kind of make more sense out of it than I can do. But so it's not entirely just blind faith, like, oh, I don't get it, I don't understand that, but I just ignore that. It's more like I've heard explanations in the past that have kind of any doubts or fears or whatever that I've had regarding something that's over my head. I've heard good enough explanations at that time that I just like, okay, I like, and I try to do that. Like if something really bothers me or I don't really understand it, I do try to study up on it a little bit. The problem is though, I can't seem to pass on that knowledge. Like I'm not the kind that absorbs academic information well enough that I can like spew it back out in my own words in order to explain it to others. So I'm like worse than AI. Like if you ask AI anything about the Bible, it answers really well, even though AI is not Christian. It doesn't have any beliefs, but it'll speak as if it does better than I can. So it's kind of depressing actually, because anyway, but it's true. Not ashamed, like that Newsboys song. Yeah, and don't talk about Newsboys anymore. They're blacklisted because of what's his name? Michael Tate, whatever. Can't remember. Anyway, it's all over the news. Newsboys are on the news, and it's not for the right reason. But yeah. Back in the day, it was a cool group, though. I don't know how they're doing or how they're like dealing with the drama that's going on, but it's not good. Not good. All right, let's keep going. Numbers chapter 32. Now the Reubenites and Gadites, who had very large herds and flocks, surveyed the lands of Jazer and Gilead, and they saw that the region was suitable for livestock. So the Gadites and Reubenites came to Moses, Eleazar the priest, and the leaders of the congregation, and said, Ataroth, Dibon, Jazer, Nimrah, Heshbon, Elealeh, Sibam, Nebo, and Beon, which the Lord conquered before the congregation of Israel, are suitable for livestock, and your servants have livestock. If we have found favor in your sight, they said, let this land be given to your servants as a possession. Do not make us cross the Jordan. But Moses asked the Gadites and Reubenites, shall your brothers go to war while you sit here? Why are you discouraging the Israelites from crossing into the land that the Lord has given them? This is what your fathers did when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to inspect the land. For when your fathers went up to the valley of Eshcol and saw the land, they discouraged the Israelites from entering the land that the Lord had given them. So the anger of the Lord was kindled that day, and he swore an oath, saying, because they did not follow me wholeheartedly, not one of the men 20 years of age or older who came out of Egypt will see the land that I swore to give Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Not one except Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, and Joshua, son of Nun, because they did not... having a trouble here. Not one except Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, and Joshua, son of Nun, because they did follow the Lord wholeheartedly. The anger of the Lord burned against Israel, and he made them wander in the wilderness 40 years, until the whole generation who had done evil in his sight was gone. Now, behold, you, a brood of sinners, have risen up in place of your fathers, to further stoke the burning anger of the Lord against Israel. For if you turn away from following him, he will once again leave this people in the wilderness, and you will be the cause of their destruction. Then the Gadites and Reubenites approached Moses and said, we want to build sheepfolds here for our livestock and cities for our little ones, but we will arm ourselves and be ready to go ahead of the Israelites until we have brought them into their place. Meanwhile, our little ones will remain in the fortified cities for protection from the inhabitants of the land. We will not return to our homes until every Israelite has taken possession of his inheritance. Yet we will not have an inheritance with them across the Jordan and beyond, because our inheritance has come to us on the east side of the Jordan. Moses replied, if you will do this, if you will arm yourselves before the Lord for battle, and if every one of your armed men crosses the Jordan before the Lord until he has driven his enemies out before him, then when the land is subdued before the Lord, you may return and be free of obligation to the Lord and to Israel. And this land will belong to you as a possession before the Lord. But if you do not do this, you will certainly sin against the Lord, and be assured that your sin will find you out. Build cities for your little ones and folds for your flocks, but do what you have promised. The Gadites and Reubenites said to Moses, your servants will do just as our Lord commands. Our children, our wives, our livestock, and all our animals will remain here in the cities of Gilead. But your servants are equipped for war, and every man will cross over to the battle before the Lord, just as our Lord says. So Moses gave orders about them to Eleazar the priest, to Joshua son of Nun, and to the family leaders of the tribes of Israel. And Moses said to them, if the Gadites and Reubenites cross the Jordan with you, with every man armed for battle before the Lord, and the land is subdued before you, then you are to give them the land of Gilead as a possession. But if they do not arm themselves and go across with you, then they must accept their possession among you in the land of Canaan. The Gadites and Reubenites replied, as the Lord has spoken to your servants, so we will do. We will cross over into the land of Canaan armed before the Lord, that we may have our inheritance on this side of the Jordan. So Moses gave to the Gadites, to the Reubenites, and to the half-tribe of Manasseh, son of Joseph, the kingdom of Sihon, king of the Amorites, and the kingdom of Og, king of Bashan, the land including its cities and the territory surrounding them. And the Gadites built up Dibon, Ataroth, Aror, Atroth Shophan, Jazer, Jogbehah, Beth Nimrah, and Beth Haran as fortified cities, and they built folds for their flocks. The Reubenites built up Heshbon, Elealeh, Kiriathaim, Kiriathaim, as well as Nebo and Baal Meon, whose names were changed, and Sibmah, and they renamed the cities they rebuilt. The descendants of Machir, son of Manasseh, went to Gilead, captured it, and drove out the Amorites who were there. So Moses gave Gilead to the clan of Machir, son of Manasseh, and they settled there. Jair, a descendant of Manasseh, went and captured their villages and called them Havoth Jair. And Noba went and captured Kenath and its villages and called it Noba after his own name. Got a lot of editing to do on all these mistakes. I don't actually terribly mind doing the editing, because the cool thing, actually kind of like it, the cool thing about editing each chapter later is I get to review it in quite a bit of detail. Like, so technically by the end of this whole thing, if I edit all of them, I'll probably end up in essence reading the Bible like 3 times instead of once, because I read it, I listen to it very thoroughly when I'm doing the edits, because I'm listening to every word, like carefully watching for mistakes, and I'm reading it with my eyes, like I'm tracking it with my eyes as I'm listening for mistakes, and then I keep going back and forth. So I'm listening to it a lot, and I actually kind of enjoy that process because of that. If that wasn't a benefit or happening, it would be very tedious. But so in a sense, it's not the end of the world if I can't automate that aspect of the editing, because it's actually pretty cool, because I'm several weeks behind on the edits, mainly because YouTube only allows me to upload a certain number of videos per day, so I can't keep up to speed with what I'm recording on live streams, but also because I'm just not doing it all the time. And so it's kind of cool to review all of this, like, I don't know, a month or 2 later. It really reinforces it for me, so I'm actually quite content with that scenario. So anyway, let's got one more chapter in this reading, then I'll find another spot, which won't be hard. There'll be some more spots up there. Luke chapter 20. One day, as Jesus was teaching the people in the temple courts and proclaiming the gospel, the chief priests and scribes, together with the elders, came up to him. "Tell us," they said, "by what authority are you doing these things, and who gave you this authority?" "I will ask you a question," Jesus replied. "Tell me. John's baptism, was it from heaven or from men?" They deliberated among themselves and said, "If we say, 'From heaven,' he will ask, 'Why did you not believe him?' But if we say, 'From men,' all the people will stone us, for they are convinced that John was a prophet." So they answered that they did not know where it was from. And Jesus replied, "Neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things." Then he proceeded to tell the people this parable. A man planted a vineyard, rented it out to some tenants, and went away for a long time. At harvest time, he sent a servant to the tenants to collect his share of the fruit of the vineyard. But the tenants beat the servant and sent him away empty-handed. So he sent another servant, but they beat him and treated him shamefully, sending him away empty-handed. Then he sent a third, but they wounded him and threw him out. What shall I do? Asked the owner of the vineyard. I will send my beloved son. Perhaps they will respect him. But when the tenants saw the son, they discussed it among themselves and said, This is the heir. Let us kill him, and the inheritance will be ours. So they threw him out of the vineyard and killed him. What then will the owner of the vineyard do to them? He will come and kill those tenants and will give the vineyard to others. And when the people heard this, they said, May such a thing never happen. But Jesus actually felt like a physical resistance to my finger, whatever that was. It was so big. Probably some beetle landed on me or something. Okay, I'll start over this part. He will come and kill those tenants and will give the vineyard to others. And when the people heard this, they said, May such a thing never happen. But Jesus looked directly at them and said, Then what is the meaning of that which is written? The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Everyone who falls on this stone will be broken to pieces, but he on whom it falls will be crushed. When the scribes and chief priests realized that Jesus had spoken this parable against them, they sought to arrest him that very hour. But they were afraid of the people. So they watched him closely and sent spies who pretended to be sincere. They were hoping to catch him in his words in order to hand him over to the rule and authority of the governor. Teacher, they inquired, we know that you speak and teach correctly. You show no partiality, but teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. Is it lawful for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not? But Jesus saw through their duplicity and said to them, Show me a denarius. Whose image and inscription are on it? Caesar's, they answered. So Jesus told them, Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. And they were unable to trap him in his words before the people, and amazed at his answer, they fell silent. Then some of the Sadducees, who say there is no resurrection, came to question him. Teacher, they said, Moses wrote for us that if a man's brother dies and leaves a wife but no children, the man is to marry his brother's widow and raise up offspring. The man is to marry his brother's widow and raise up offspring for him. Now there were 7 brothers. The first one married a wife but died childless. Then the second and third married the widow, and in the same way all 7 died, leaving no children. And last of all, the woman died. So then, in the resurrection, whose wife will she be? For all 7 were married to her. Jesus answered, The sons of this age marry and are given in marriage, but those who are considered worthy to share in the age to come and in the resurrection from the dead will neither marry nor be given in marriage. In fact, they can no longer die because they are like the angels. And since they are sons of the resurrection, they are sons of God. Even Moses demonstrates that the dead are raised in the passage about the burning bush, for he calls the Lord the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living, for to him all are alive. Some of the Sadducees answered, Teacher, you have spoken well. And they did not dare to question him any further. Then Jesus declared, How can it be said that the Christ is the son of David? For David himself says in the book of Psalms, The Lord said to my Lord, Sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. Thus David calls him Lord. So how can he be David's son? In the hearing of all the people, Jesus said to his disciples, Beware of the scribes. They like to walk around in long robes, and they love the greetings in the marketplaces, the chief seats in the synagogues, and the places of honor at banquets. They defraud widows of their houses, and for a show make and for a show make lengthy prayers. These men will receive greater condemnation. All right. I like the parts where Jesus is saying and doing stuff. It's my favorite. I actually don't like that we're getting so far into the Gospels, because it won't be much longer and then we'll be done with the life of Jesus for the year. I mean, there's a lot of amazing good stuff left in the Bible, obviously, but yeah, it's kind of the highlight for me to be in this section of the reading. Some reading plans have different splits, so they'll the Gospels and New Testament in general might be spread out differently. A lot of them actually have a psalm or a few psalms every day and one proverb a day, stuff like that. But this particular reading plan doesn't repeat anything. So if you go through it, you read the entire Bible in a year, but not some parts more than once. And I actually really like how it lines up. It's I don't know if it's inspired or what, but there's way too many really nice lining up of verses, which almost seems too complicated for a person to weave that together and orchestrate that like a tapestry. So it feels I know somebody did it. There's some person that can take the credit for making this reading plan, but maybe they really were inspired when they made it. I think it's a really good plan. Not to say it's perfect or anything, but I like it quite a bit. The one thing I have to decide is if I'm going to keep doing this past this reading through, am I just going to do the same thing again next time if I decide to keep going, or am I going to change it up somehow? I don't know. And the other thing I might actually do on the next time, if I keep doing this, is read it from a different version. I think there's a good chance I would do that, even though I like the Berean Standard Bible quite a bit. My personal, uneducated but somewhat experienced opinion is that it's probably the best free Bible, copyright-free Bible, and that's why I chose it. Among the ones that I'm aware of, King James, NET, WEB, Young's Literal Translation. There's a few others. Most, a lot of them are pretty old, King James, Young's Literal Translation. There's a few others in that similar category that are past the copyright limit, statute, whatever. So they're public domain, but most of those are pretty old language and not as relatable these days. And among the big three other ones, which is NET, WEB, and BSB, I like BSB the best, but it doesn't mean that the other two aren't good and valid translations. It's just, when I did some samplings of them, I just, I don't know, there was some stuff in there that read a little bit weird to me, but they're all fine, so I may choose, and I'm not against the King James either. I'll eventually probably do that if I just keep doing this over and over. Anyway, we'll see. I haven't decided that yet, and it's way too early to be talking about that, because I don't even know if I'll make it through this year. There's no real point to plan that far ahead, but anyway, that's it for this reading. So let me sort of pack up. Not really, though. I'm gonna keep the stream going because I want to find another spot close by that I can do another reading. I think that was the end of week 13. 14, if I remember. Let me check. Yeah. So we'll be starting week 14 if I keep going. I'd love to get through that whole week today, but I don't know. I got a way later start than I should have. It's mainly because of this stupid AI thing. That's part of the reason I want to just get these scripts done so I don't have to think about AI so much. I'm spending way too much time on it, and I don't think it's necessarily sinful per se, but like what happened last year is I got very distracted with all of the tech and all of the apps that I wanted to make. And so I started developing all sorts of Bible related stuff, which I don't regret. I've made some pretty cool stuff, but it kept me from doing the reading, which is far more important. I feel like I'm supposed to be reading through the whole Bible on my live stream. I don't know if it'll have some big impact, but for some reason I have this sense that I'm supposed to do this. And so in a way, it might have been sinful. I don't know. Probably to some degree last year when I allowed myself to get off task and I didn't finish what I set out to do. And so I'm starting again this year. Hopefully, not that I can redeem myself. I made a mistake last year and I own up to it. I allowed myself to get distracted. So that's the part of the reason I don't want to get too much into this development AI stuff, because I have a working solution. The thing that got me distracted last year is I wanted to have the words on screen, out in nature, which is quite a technological feat to do. And I got totally sidetracked on this other project that really had nothing to do with that, but it was still a cool project. But no excuse. Got me off track. And so what I want to make sure to guard against this year is don't get so into the nitty gritty of perfecting Bible scripts and things that I get that I waste so much time that I don't leave time to do the readings, and then I allow it to slide again. That's what I want to make sure I don't do. And that's part of the reason I've been really attacking it lately. Just not just do one reading in a day. I'll do a whole week at a time, because I want to not be obsessive about it, but I want to sort of catch up to all that time that I lost by not doing it. And plus I need it. I literally need it. I need to do this for my own spiritual well-being and sanity. So even if nobody else is watching this stuff, I'm benefiting greatly. Not only is my spiritual health increased greatly, and I hope that's even noticeable if you go back 2 months ago and you listen to what I was saying on my live streams and how discouraged I was and not making any progress in anything, and you kind of track forward. If you've been watching some of my streams, you'll notice a pattern of greater confidence and inner strength, and it's building up again. And that's not because I'm anything special. It's because I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. God called me to do something, I believe, to do this. And even if he didn't call me to do this and I'm reading too much into it, all followers of Christ should be reading the Bible, just plain and simple. So to not do it, I believe, is disobedience. And God rewards obedience. And he also has power in everything that's related to him. So if you seek him, or you read his word, or do other, go to church or pray or worship, all the things that you can do related to him, your life is going to be more full inside. Some of the troubles that you have, inside your heart and your mind, are going to feel less important. Oh, and another thing I could add to that list is service. If you serve others, volunteer your time, look for people around you that need help and help them. That's another thing. Your issues, the things that you struggle with in your life are going to start fading a little bit as you seek God and seek community and serving others and that stuff. And so it's happening for me. And I was a fool to not read the Bible regularly for like the second half of last year. It's not like I didn't do anything at all, but I just wasn't, I kind of let the whole thing drop, and I think it was a mistake. But anyway, hopefully this year I will not fall into that same trap. And it may be that the stream thing is a one-time thing. I don't know if I'll be the guy that always reads the Bible forever. It might just be I go through it once and then I go back to either not streaming at all, and that's the last thing I do as a streamer, or I just go back to like my regular content where I do bookbinding and hiking and soccer ball juggling and some techie nerdy stuff, and some retro video games here and there, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I know there's a lot of people that used to watch my channel that'd be like, yes, please do, because that's all they don't like the Bible stuff. And I understand, that's fine, but that's not my concern. I feel like I need to do this, and that other stuff that I was doing pales in comparison to the importance of this. So I need to do this for many reasons. So anyway, all that to say, I don't want to get distracted with AI, and that's part of the reason, and not just AI, but like trying to do all these Bible scripts that, as long as I'm doing them on the side and able to still have time and keep focused on not just reading the Bible on stream, but like there's other things in my life, like the shop stuff that I've been doing that's not just streaming content, that's stuff that I actually need to be doing to move forward with the future. Let's see, I'm going to do this a little bit differently, I think. Anyway, there's things that are higher priority than the scripting stuff. So I shouldn't allow myself to get so wrapped up in it that it takes away all the time that I need to spend doing more important things. All right, let me get this off of here. I'm going to try to just go mobile with the gimbal, but how do I do it? I definitely need a quick release plate for that's always on the gimbal, so I don't have to take it off. And yeah, I don't know if they make quick release plates that also have a 1/4 inch 20 on the bottom of them, but that's kind of what I need. I'm sure they do. I can't imagine there's not such a thing out there. That's what I need for this to go a little bit smoother and take less time. Whoa. I don't know what happened to that guy that used to do Bible readings. I kind of met him on DLive. I don't know if he like started on DLive, but he was on DLive, but he was also like streaming on multiple platforms. I think his channel was called Reading the Word or something like that. I think his name was Josh or something like that. I didn't really get to know him at the time, mainly because his live streams were just pre-recorded. He wasn't like just talking with people during the stream, because it was all recorded and just playing back on his stream. So I tend to be more looking for people I can actually interact with. So the 24/7, radio channels and stuff like that is not my cup of tea and stuff like that. So I didn't really ever get to know him that well, but I liked that he was there doing that. I don't know what happened to him, if he just felt like, okay, I've done this long enough, or maybe he didn't feel like he was getting the kind of interaction or response that he was hoping for. And if that's the case, I totally understand that, because it kind of kills a channel when you do this kind of stuff, because the majority of people don't want to have anything to do with God or the Bible and stuff. So, but yeah, I never actually talked to him to find out what happened. But that gives me all the more reason to do it, because the one guy that was kind of doing it pretty well and he had way more. It's kind of ironic, even though he was pre-recorded and sometimes not even in his chat, he had more people coming by his stream than I do. But I don't really care. I'm just glad that it was happening, and maybe I'm just the guy that does it for a while and then somebody else will do it. And then there's others, there's other people doing it too. Most of them are pre-recorded or just like AI voice, kind of generic automated stuff. I wanted this to be more like it's actually a live stream, so if people came by, they would be able to interact and be part of the stream. Hasn't really gone that way too much. Most of the time a lot of times I get nobody dropping by, but that's alright. I think there's people lurking though, and that's pretty cool. I don't care if people have their reasons not to be interactive, that's fine. I'm not going to judge. But if somebody's actually watching and enjoying the content, then sweet. Alright, okay, just gotta figure out where everything is before I move on. Alright, so I'm just looking for a different angle. I don't know if I'll do any more angles looking up at the rocks, because that would feel like it's a little bit too similar to what I just did. But maybe like a nice shot of the forest over here, or if I could get a spot right up next to the rocks, that would be unique enough to do another reading up there. I can't believe it's this late in the day already. It's ridiculous. I got way too late of a start because I was doing that scripting stuff. That's what I mean, if I get too distracted with that stuff, then I'll do less and less reading and more scripting, and then it'll take over, and then I won't somehow let it drop off entirely. So I just gotta be careful now. Keep it in check. Stay balanced. This would actually be a really cool angle. I think I'll save that for later, because I don't want to do two readings that are so similar right after each other. But I could come back another time and do that shot right there. That looks really cool with all the trees and stuff. Oh, I forgot to stop the local recording, but I guess it's better to leave it on because I'll probably forget to start it again. But I only really need to local record the Bible readings, not like the entire stream. One of the things, this would be a nice angle too. One of the things that's kind of funny to me about AI stuff is there's probably technically like 100 people out there asking AI the exact same thing. I know that sounds quaint, like, oh, way more than 100, but what I mean is, like, this very script, or these scripts that I'm working on, there could be 100 other people asking exactly the same thing or very similar. So there's like 100 different versions of the same script floating out there somewhere. Some better than others, and it's almost like you don't even need to write these cool scripts with AI and then post them to GitHub, because like nobody needs to bother going to GitHub anymore. At some point they'll be like, why on earth would I go to GitHub and install something, download something? I could just ask AI to make it for me. I'm sure it's going to reach that point pretty soon. It's like, why even bother if there's to check if there's a project out there already that does what I want? That would take longer than to ask AI to make the entire project for me, because it only takes it actually takes about 1 second for most of the scripts I write, because I use, most of the time I'm using Gemini 2.5 Flash, because I don't have a Pro account. Sometimes I use Pro because you have a few credits per day, but anyway, it's just, it's funny because it's like, what is the point to go look for some software when you can just have AI write it for you on the spot, like right then? It's kind of weird. So this would make a good angle here too, but I'm not sure if that's different enough for today. I'll probably save that one for another time too. I was also thinking right there with those trees back there is kind of cool. I might actually do that one right now. Let's see, like, if I can find a good. I don't know, there's something like how they're just like lined up in a row on the edge of this mountain, and this looks cool. But I think it might look, that same kind of concept might look better when I get up to the top. So I might just climb up these rocks and see what that looks like. But I also think there's potential for some cool angle down here right in front of the rocks, so I'll check for that too. Ugh, there's not enough people coming up here to clear paths to these big bushes. Are very scratchy and hard to get through. You know, just something like even right there with bushes and boulders, that would look cool, but I need a place to sit down, which this is not a place. I could also sit on this boulder. So there's always, like, every place that I go, I used to think, well, the main thing I'm after is the view at the top. But like when you have interesting angles like this, it's better to have some variety. I might actually do that one right there, just sitting in the gap of those two giant boulders. That'd be kind of cool. So let's make sure the signal is still going here. Looks like it's fine. Whoops. Hopefully nobody wants to climb up here while I'm here, because I'm going to sort of block the path with my tripod. I've been up here a bunch of times. I've never seen anyone else up here, but I know some people come up. I mean, I imagine they do. I mean, I can see some broken glass down here, which I haven't noticed that before, but I don't think it's as popular as one might think, though. Just because if it was, I would have to fight for space, you know. There'd be other people up here, and there's basically that's never happened. I've never seen anybody. I've seen people down on the road in their ATVs. That's about it. All right, let's stop babbling on and get this show on the road. This transition between tripod and gimbal is very clumsy. I have to spend way too much time. I guess the other thing I could do is rig up some kind of strap that I could just throw my tripod on the back of my backpack instead of having to pack it away every time. Probably like over there where I'm gonna sit between the boulders is probably a cool angle over there too. But I'm not necessarily gonna exhaust all the angles in here today, because I can always come back. I think with a little bit of creativity, though, you could probably pretty much do a huge chunk of the entire year's readings just in one very isolated location, just by moving around just little bits and changing the camera angle. And I tell people generally on stream if I've been there already, and some people may remember, other people will be like, really? That doesn't look familiar. But I don't have to say that, and if I didn't, probably nobody would know in some of the circumstances, because it looks so different depending on setting up. All right. I would say statistically the chances are pretty slim that somebody's going to come by as I'm here, but I have some pretty funny experiences with luck in my life. I don't really believe in luck, but I feel like Murphy's Law is kind of part of my life. Okay, let's see. Oh, what did I do? Oh yeah, it's in my pocket. Like, where is that thing? This should be so much faster. If I had money, I would invest in some of these little gear additions that would make these transitions go a little bit more smoothly. Let's see, I wasn't really planning on it, but it might look cool with those little bushes in the foreground too. That's kind of nice. So much glare on my screen, I can't really see what that looks like, but I think that might be kind of cool with that stuff in the foreground. As long as it doesn't like focus on that and then background's all blurry or something. Okay, there we go. A bunch of places I could put my backpack, but don't want it to be in the camera view. In the view, that's the main thing. So I guess I'll put it way over here somewhere. Whoa! Woo! Teeter-totter rocks. There's actually a really cool angle just right over here too. So I've got plenty of options here. Tons of spots. Hopefully sitting back here doesn't like kill the signal or something. Like it won't affect the live stream signal, but it could affect the microphone. Well, hopefully there's no ticks over here because I'm going to be pretty much right in the bushes. Actually, maybe I can set it up down here. Yeah, that'll work. Can't see what it looks like. Hopefully it looks okay and my microphone is getting through. It's actually pretty comfortable though. I'll just check where this chair is and visualize. I think it's okay, I guess. Yeah, just right over there. Be a nice angle too. If I can change the angle of this chair, no, I was gonna say a 90-degree turn would make more sense. So I'm like pointing that way. It just aesthetically always looks weird when you're on the edge of the screen and looking off the edge of the screen. Kind of like as a streamer, you always want to point your camera toward the center. So you flip it sometimes for that. But we're just gonna break that rule. Because I can't really turn that direction because of this big rock here. I mean, except for this rock in my hip, which will probably wear on me pretty quick, this is actually pretty comfortable. What would have been perfect? Can you imagine this? If I happened to be reading about the Meribah, as that was called, the rock, the split rock, because this looks exactly like what that, I mean, just, you know, you could imagine something that looks kind of like this. That'd be funny. I don't actually purposely plan any kind of connection with the scenery to the text. It's happened a few times already, just, you know, I don't even think it's coincidence. I think it's kind of God's blessing and just encouragement. Wow, that's a really green fly thing. Too small to show up on the camera, but anyway, I don't actually plan that, but the only one that I'm sort of waiting for, and I might accidentally not see it coming and mess it up, but I was thinking during the time of Holy Week or crucifixion, Good Friday, that stuff, Easter and whatnot, I was thinking I could do some of that around a cross, because I've seen memorial crosses out in the forest, and I could do like a few different ones during that time. But so I might choose to do that, but otherwise it's all like just unplanned. Okay, let's I'm glad I dropped that, because now I remember to mark this place. Alright, let's do it. Oh, even though I just did this earlier, I always like to test the Bible app thing. So I'm just not necessarily paranoid, but like if it doesn't work, then I have to do the whole thing again. So it's worth the few seconds of time it takes to check to make sure it's going to work. Haven't had much problem with it, though. It seems pretty reliable. The only thing I've had it do is those occasions where it takes forever to switch slides. I don't really know what that's all about. It could be a bug in the code, or it could just be like the connection is not super strong in those situations. I don't really know. Alright, looks like we're good. I'm not going to be getting any exercise today. Ugh. Like whoa, okay, not as stable as I thought. Whoa, might work still. It's a little bit weird, but every few steps down the path and like, oh, there's a new place to do a Bible reading, so I'm like basically not really hiking today. Which is kind of what I've been doing for a while anyway. Alright, so today we're going to read Numbers 33 to 34 and Mark 13, 1 to 27 and Luke 21, 1 to 28. I think we might be getting pretty close to the final week, because we already read in some of the Gospels about the triumphal entry, whatever, the Palm Sunday stuff. So I think we're going to get to that really soon. If I don't do the cross stuff, cross background, I'm not going to be devastated or anything, but I just thought it would be kind of cool to try it. Ooh, this is not stable. The thing is, two of my chair's feet are on rocks and 2 are in the sand. So I'm only half obeying Jesus' word. I'm listening to it and doing part of it, but got part of my foundation in the sand and part of it on the rock. Oh wow, actually one of my little feet came off. I think that's happened before. Oh boy, so not the most stable position. I might not be able to do the whole week 14 today. I don't know what is going on, but I'm extremely inefficient in my getting ready for these today. Numbers chapter 33. These are the journeys of the Israelites when they came out of the land of Egypt by their divisions under the leadership of Moses and Aaron. At the Lord's command, Moses recorded the stages of their journey. These are the stages listed by their starting points. On the 15th day of the first month, on the day after the Passover, the Israelites set out from Ramses. They marched out defiantly in full view of all the Egyptians, who were burying all their firstborn, whom the Lord had struck down among them. For the Lord had executed judgment against their gods. The Israelites set out from Ramses and camped at Succoth. They set out from Succoth and camped at Etham on the edge of the wilderness. They set out from Etham and turned back to Pi-hahiroth opposite Baal-zephon, and they camped near Migdol. They set out from Pi-hahiroth and crossed through the sea into the wilderness, and they journeyed 3 days into the wilderness of Etham and camped at Marah. They set out from Marah and came to Elim, where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees, and they camped there. They set out from Elim and camped by the Red Sea. They set out from the Red Sea and camped in the desert of Sin. They set out from the desert of Sin and camped at Dophkah. They set out from Dophkah and camped at Alush. They set out from Alush and camped at Rephidim, where there was no water for the people to drink. They set out from Rephidim and camped in the wilderness of Sinai. They set out from the wilderness of Sinai and camped at Kibroth Hattaavah. And camped at Kibroth Hattaavah. They set out from Kibroth Hattaavah and camped at Hazeroth. They set out from Hazeroth and camped at Rithmah. They set out from Rithmah and camped at Rimmon Perez. They set out from Rimmon Perez and camped at Libnah. They set out from Libnah and camped at Rissah. They set out from Rissah and camped at Kehelatha. They set out from Kehelatha and camped at Mount Shafir. They set out from Mount Shafir and camped at Harada. They set out from Harada and camped at Machalath, and camped at Machalath. They set out from Machalath and camped at Tahath. They set out from Tahath and camped at Terah. They set out from Terah and camped at Mithka. They set out from Mithka and camped at Hashmonah. They set out from Heshmonah and camped at Mazaroth. They set out from Mazaroth and camped at Bene-Jaakan. They set out from Bene-Jaakan and camped at Hor-Haggidgad. And camped at Hor-Haggidgad. That's really hard to say. They set out from Bene-Jaakan and camped at Hor-Haggidgad. Wow. That is impossible for any English-speaking person to say. And camped at Hor-Haggidgad. And camped at Hor-Haggidgad. Crazy. They set out from Bene-Jaakan and camped at Hor-Haggidgad. They set out from Hor-Haggidgad and camped at Jotbatha. They set out from Jotbatha and camped at Abrona. They set out from Abrona and camped at Ezion-Geber. They set out from Ezion-Geber and camped at Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin. They set out from Kadesh and camped at Mount Hor on the outskirts of the land of Edom. At the Lord's command, Aaron the priest climbed Mount Hor and died there on the first day of the 5th month, in the 40th year after the Israelites had come out of the land of Egypt. Aaron was 123 years old when he died on Mount Hor. Now the Canaanite king of Arad, who lived in the Negev in the land of Canaan, heard that the Israelites were coming, and the Israelites set out from Mount Hor and camped on Zalmonah. They set out from Zalmonah and camped at Punon. They set out from Punon and camped at Oboth. They set out from Oboth and camped at Lai-Abarim, on the border of Moab. They set out from Laim and camped at Dibon-Gad. They set out from Laim and camped at Dibon-Gad. They set out from Dibon-Gad and camped at Almon Diblathaim. And camped at Almon Diblathaim. They set out from Almon Diblathaim and camped in the mountains of Abiram facing Nebo. They set out from the mountains of Abiram and camped on the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho. And there on the plains of Moab they camped by the Jordan from Beth Jeshimoth to Abel Shittim. On the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho, the Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and tell them, when you cross the Jordan into the land of Canaan, you must drive out before you all the inhabitants of the land, destroy all their carved images and cast idols, and demolish all their high places. You are to take possession of the land and settle in it, for I have given you the land to possess. And you are to divide the land by lot according to your clans. Give a larger inheritance to a larger clan, and a smaller inheritance to a smaller one. Whatever falls to each one by lot will be his. You will receive an inheritance according to the tribes of your fathers. But if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land before you, those you allow to remain will become barbs in your eyes and thorns in your sides. They will harass you in the land where you settle. And then I will do to you what I plan to do to them." Yeah, so that's the thing. I actually like that last verse because God is just. So he's not just choosing Israel kind of randomly and they can do whatever they want. It's very obvious throughout the whole Old Testament I think Israel actually received as much punishment as some of the other nations that they were sent out to punish, because they ended up falling for the idols so many times over and over and over again that God had to punish them, because he's just. He can't just look upon sin or guilt and idolatry and all the things that they did, sexual immorality. He can't just look on that and be like, oh, okay, it's no big deal. You're my people. I'll let it slide, They got severely punished many, many times. They're still under God's judgment, even today, from thousands of years ago, because they haven't repented yet. And so it just goes to show you how important it is to be obedient to the Lord and have faith in him, because you can avoid a lot of these curses and problems in your life. Life is hard enough as it is, like, without that kind of spiritual trouble. This is not stable. Numbers chapter 34. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Command the Israelites and say to them, when you enter the land of Canaan, it will be allotted to you as an inheritance with these boundaries. Your southern border will extend from the wilderness of Zin along the border of Edom. On the east, your southern border will run from the end of the Salt Sea, cross south of the ascent of Akrabim, continue to Zin, and go south of Kadesh Barnea. Then it will go on to Hazar Adar and proceed to Asmon, where it will turn from Asmon, join the brook of Egypt, and end at the sea. Your western border will be the coastline of the Great Sea. This will be your boundary on the west. Your northern border will run from the Great Sea directly to Mount Hor, and from Mount Hor to Lebo Hamath, then extend to Zedad, continue to Ziphron, and end at Hazar Enan. This will be your boundary on the north. And your eastern border will run straight from Hazar Enan to Shepham, then go down from Shepham to Riblah on the east side of Ain, and continue along the slopes east of the Sea of Chinnereth. Then the border will go down along the Jordan and end at the Salt Sea. This will be your land defined by its border on all sides. So Moses commanded the Israelites, "Apportion this land by lot as an inheritance. The Lord has commanded that it be given to the 9.5 tribes. For the tribes of the Reubenites and Gadites, along with the half-tribe of Manasseh, have already received their inheritance. These 2.5 tribes have received their inheritance across the Jordan from Jericho toward the sunrise." Then the Lord said to Moses, "These are the names of the men who are to assign the land as an inheritance for you: Eleazar the priest and Joshua son of Nun. Appoint one leader from each tribe to distribute the land. These are their names: Caleb son of Jephunneh from the tribe of Judah, Shemuel son of Ammihud from the tribe of Simeon, Elidad son of Chislon from the tribe of Benjamin, Buki son of Jogli, a leader from the tribe of Dan, Haniel son of Ephod, a leader from the tribe of Manasseh son of Joseph, Kemuel son of Shiftan, a leader from the tribe of Ephraim, Eli Zaphan son of Parnak, a leader from the tribe of Zebulun, Paltiel son of Azan, a leader from the tribe of Issachar, Ahihud son of Shilomai, a leader from the tribe of Asher, and Padahel son of Ammihud, a leader from the tribe of Naphtali. These are the ones whom the Lord commanded to apportion the inheritance to the Israelites in the land of Canaan. Man, these names are really hard. I was going to mention this earlier. I really liked that list of places that they stopped. I mean, some people might think, oh my goodness, that's so repetitious. But like what I was thinking about earlier, so, quite a few streams ago, I was kind of wondering if God outlined the places that they went, or if just, arbitrarily a few are mentioned, but others are not. It sounds like, it literally, Moses literally said, God told me to make this list. Like, maybe he wouldn't have done so otherwise. God literally made sure that you and I and everyone else throughout history had that list of names. I find that quite interesting because I didn't remember, because my memory sucks. I've read it, before, but I didn't remember that it had all those places and what order they're in. So theoretically, as what's the word? As they uncover some of these places, which some of them I think they have, but some of them they don't necessarily know yet. But I keep watching a bunch of videos on YouTube of archaeology. So I was trying to think of where they dig up places and they find artifacts that link up with the Bible and stuff, which a large chunk of what's in the Bible has already been discovered as ruins and stuff like that. It's very reliable. This isn't, some people think it's all fairy tales. That's like garbage that they've been fed, because there's people out there with an agenda that really don't want you to know the truth. So, no actual scholars, even atheist scholars, don't deny this stuff, because it's literally undeniable, because they've uncovered so much of this history and it confirms everything that the Bible says. So don't go around thinking that this is a bunch of fairy tales, and at least do your research, because it's not even conspiracy. It's not even Christian wishful thinking. It's literally certifiable archaeological fact. The vast majority of this stuff. However, as far as I'm guessing, I haven't put the research hours into it, but I doubt they've located all of these locations in that list of stops in the 40-year wandering in the wilderness. But there's a lot of stuff there that really, it makes me want to look up, either ask AI or just find a website that has a map and see how many of them they've traced. And not only would that just be interesting, but it would be cool to see if they did their research well and they didn't just make stuff up. Hopefully you would see somewhat of a continuous pathway. I don't know if they were going in circles, or if they weren't really moving very fast and they just slowly went, kind of in one direction and never really retraced their steps. I don't really know. But either way, it would be quite fascinating to see that plotted on a map, to find out how many of those are, discovered, and that they know where they were. It's quite interesting. This is weird to me, but there's places in the Bible that everybody in that area who lives there knows where it is. They're just like, oh yeah, the altar of Moses, that's over there. We've known that for hundreds of years. Its tradition's been passed down. We know exactly where that is. But then Westerners, Americans or other countries like that, go in with their archaeologists and they say, we discovered the place where this happened, and then all the people that live there, in Saudi Arabia or wherever, they're just probably rolling their eyes and yeah, we've known this whole time. But anyway, it's just because some of the archaeological videos that I've watched, that's kind of the story. The locals know about it. They've known about it forever, but they have a different name for it. So when we, Americans or English people or whoever, go in there and and make their discoveries just so they can be some famous archaeologist or whatever. They may not really be able to connect the dots because they either don't speak the native language, or maybe they don't have access to the people in the culture, the locals that actually know all this stuff in advance. So, but yeah, it's kind of funny to hear that. Like probably the most disputed, and there's a billion videos, and I don't really think that they've discovered it fully, but some people think, that it's possible to find where the Noah's Ark landed on Mount Ararat and stuff. And that they might be able to. There's this one, man, I want to watch this video. There's apparently, supposedly, this could be conspiracy. I don't really consider it super reliable, but there's apparently pictures of the Ark, supposedly, that were sort of like purposely destroyed by a certain culture at a certain time in history, because, that's the reason why you have like cultural revolutions, like the stuff that happened in China. That similar kind of stuff happened in the Soviet Union. You used to have like these beautiful, very high culture, high artwork, stuff in China and Russia, before all the communism took over. And a lot of that, some of it even had religious significance, like artifacts and stuff from ancient times, or evidence that, God was worshipped at this time or whatever. Not to say that it's all intentional, but they try to cleanse people from their background and history, in order to make them weak. Because if you have no culture and you have no belief system, you're easy to control. And that's literally, like, you read like Marxist doctrine and strategy, that's literally what they do. They rid people, they create atheism, which isn't a natural thing. Like, it's not natural to not believe in God. They create atheism, they just try to force that down on everybody. They rid you of your religion, they rid you of your culture, and then, like, you're super easy to control because you have no unity. You have no love for yourself. You hate yourself. You hate your country. You hate everything. You have no morality, literally nothing to hold on to. And then you have no unity as a people because you have nothing to, gather around, to unite upon. And so that, sadly, that's kind of what's happening to Western society as well nowadays. Like, here in the US, it's totally happening, definitely happening in England, and I think it's happening in Australia as well. Like, just basically everywhere, culture and heritage and tradition and religion and all that stuff is trying to be just completely whitewashed. Just get rid of it all, make everybody think it's a joke, So they literally just like they build up society in a cultural way to essentially sanitize it, so there's like nothing left. It's just this empty husk, and it's really sad to see. Even though, like, just as an example, the Chinese stuff, it's beautiful and stuff, but it's not necessarily like objectively true or something. Like, obviously some of the ancient Chinese culture had a bunch of superstition and weird beliefs and stuff. So, sometimes it's okay, I guess, to get rid of old superstition and weird things, but at the same time, like, I think just about anybody who's kind of in love with like Asian culture, whether it's Chinese, Japanese, those seem to be the biggest ones. Like, especially Japanese culture, it's like highly praised, and Korean culture as well. People like really pursue that stuff, but I think what they really like about it is the ancient stuff, like the old stuff. Like, I know that for my sake, I used to watch Chinese martial arts movies all the time because I love the movements and the culture that goes behind that stuff. And, like, just the shape of the old buildings and like the feudal time when he had those really cool architecture and stuff. That's what people like about Asian culture. It's not like oh, cool, they've got like fancy technology or something. I mean, I don't know. Generally speaking, like people watch anime because it's like typically depicted in the more traditional times that have cool cultural features, and obviously there's modern ones too, and people are into that. But generally speaking, the stuff that is really cool about these places is exactly the stuff that they've tried to destroy. And now, if it happens at all, if it still exists, it's kind of exploitative, like, you know, cultural, like tourism and stuff. Like, we don't really want this stuff because it gives people identity and unity, but we'll allow it because we have become aware that the whole world loves this aspect of our tradition. So we have to keep maintain appearances, you know. Anyway, it's just sad because there is a lot lost when you have those great purges, historical purges. Let me see. I didn't have the screen on. I mean, to keep the screen on that whole time. Okay. Mark chapter 13. As Jesus was leaving the temple, one of his disciples said to him, "Teacher, look at the magnificent stones and buildings." "Do you see all these great buildings?" Jesus replied. "Not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down." While Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, opposite the temple, Peter, James, John, and Andrew asked him privately, "Tell us, when will these things happen? And what will be the sign that they are about to be fulfilled?" Jesus began by telling them, "See to it that no one deceives you. Many will come in my name, claiming, 'I am he,' and will deceive many. When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed. These things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places, as well as famines. These are the beginning of birth pains. So be on your guard. You will be delivered over to the councils and beaten in the synagogues. On my account, you will stand before governors and kings as witnesses to them. And the gospel must first be proclaimed to all nations. But when they arrest you and hand you over, do not worry beforehand what to say. Instead, speak whatever you are given at that time, for it will not be you speaking, but the Holy Spirit. Brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child. Children will rise against their parents and have them put to death. You will be hated by everyone because of my name, but the one who perseveres to the end will be saved. So when you see the abomination of desolation standing where it should not be, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the housetop go back inside to retrieve anything from his house, and let no one in the field return for his cloak. How miserable those days will be for pregnant and nursing mothers. Pray that this will not occur in the winter. For those will be days of tribulation unmatched from the beginning of God's creation until now, and never to be seen again. If the Lord had not cut short those days, nobody would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, whom he has chosen, he has cut them short. At that time, if anyone says to you, 'Look, here is the Christ,' or 'There he is,' do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform signs and wonders that would deceive even the elect if that were possible. So be on your guard. I have told you everything in advance. But in those days after that tribulation, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. At that time they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. And he will send out the angels to gather his elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of the heaven. I've always found that last verse interesting when a few times I've noticed it or thought about it. It's like he will gather his elect from the ends of the earth to the ends of the heaven actually suggests that by the time Jesus comes back, it's possible that we might be doing interplanetary travels, or at least have some people in space, which we already do with the space station and whatnot, but maybe there will be even more, because why would it say, gathering from the ends of the heaven if they were all on earth, So it's interesting. Luke chapter 21. Then Jesus looked up and saw the rich putting their gifts into the treasury, and he saw a poor widow put in 2 small copper coins. Truly I tell you, he said, this poor widow has put in more than all the others, for they all contributed out of their surplus, but she out of her poverty has put in all she had to live on. As some of the disciples were remarking how the temple was adorned with beautiful stones and consecrated gifts, Jesus said, as for what you see here, the time will come when not one stone will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down. Teacher, they asked, when will these things happen? And what will be the sign that they are about to take place? Jesus answered, see to it that you are not deceived. For many will come in my name, claiming, I am he, and the time is near. Do not follow them. When you hear of wars and rebellions, do not be alarmed. These things must happen first, but the end is not imminent. Then he told them, nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences. There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, along with fearful sights and great signs from heaven. But before all this, they will seize you and persecute you. On account of my name, they will deliver you to the synagogues and prisons, and they will bring you before kings and governors. This will be your opportunity to serve as witnesses. So make up your mind not to worry beforehand how to defend yourselves, for I will give you speech and wisdom that none of your adversaries will be able to resist or contradict. You will be betrayed even by parents and brothers and relatives and friends, and some of you will be put to death. And you will be hated by everyone because of my name, yet not even a hair of your head will perish. By your patient endurance you will gain your souls. But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, you will know that her desolation is near. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains, let those in the city get out, and let those in the country stay out of the city. For these are the days of vengeance, to fulfill all that is written. How miserable those days will be for pregnant and nursing mothers! For there will be great distress upon the land and wrath against this people. They will fall by the edge of the sword and be led captive into all the nations. And Jerusalem will be trodden down by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles are fulfilled. Until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. There will be signs in the sun and moon and stars, and on the earth dismay among the nations, bewildered by the roaring of the sea and the surging of the waves. Men will faint from fear and anxiety over what is coming upon the earth, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. At that time they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. When these things begin to happen, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. Some kind of animal going on back there. Whew. Part of the reason I'm a little kind of disappointed that it took so long to get out here and get started is I wanted to, I wanted to get all this reading done like in the morning, and then maybe get home like sometime in the semi-early afternoon so I could still work out in the shop. But I don't know if that's gonna happen. I probably still have time to do something when I get back, but it's already late in the afternoon. It's crazy how fast that time went by. I don't understand how. Ugh. Doesn't feel like I've been streaming for like hours. I mean, like many hours, but whatever. Time flies. There seem to be like no shortage of random people out with guns these days. Like the last few days, I've noticed it more than ever. I don't know what that means exactly. It might just be coincidence, but maybe it's hunting season. I don't know if that's the sound. It doesn't seem like that would be the sound of hunters. I think it's probably just people practicing with their guns and stuff, but I don't know. They sound like too big of guns to be using for like hunting. I mean, like semi-automatic heavy caliber stuff going on. So I'm kind of guessing it's probably not hunting, but what do I know? I'm not really part of gun culture, except that, as I mentioned before, I really like watching those kind of videos on YouTube for some reason, but I don't really get jazzed about going out and shooting guns all the time. All right, let's see. So this is kind of the angle I saw from just a while ago, thinking, no, that would be cool. But I'm not sure like where I would sit to still be in that shot. Actually, I think I do see a spot. Yeah, I cannot see the screen. I gotta get this down just for a second so I can see what's going on here. Okay. Alright, I think that'll be fine. Make sure it's on the left. Oh crap. Hopefully that didn't kill the stream. I can't see anything on this screen. It's so much glare. It's ridiculous. Alright, so I'll sit up there on that nice little flat rock. Do another reading, I guess. Whoa! That was nonsense. There's a lot of like shifty rocks here, but still, that's just ridiculous. Ah, stupid. I hate it when I do that. Oh man. It's the little things that annoy me, but I left my GPS, my Garmin on the backpack instead of in my pocket or whatever, so my track is going to be inaccurate. It's so annoying. I hate it. If I remember that when I get home, I can fix it, but I probably won't. Oh well, whatever. Just pet peeve. What in the world happened there? Is that where I had that pointed, or did it? Oh, I guess it is. I was thinking, what? Didn't remember that I had it pointing over that far. I mean, I'm used to like climbing crazy stuff, like something about the arrangement of these particular rocks. It's like they're made to be booby traps or hazardous. It's weird. It shouldn't be any different than anywhere else, but oh, that's a nice angle too. Yeah, we got a lot of options here. That looks cool that way. Oh man, I got endless options here. So I was thinking of sitting up here. I don't know why I have this. It's stupid. Nice toss. Not